jump in.
I feel like I need to be like holding my ear and saying like, good morning from the East Coast of the United States. Good Tuesday morning, October 22nd here. Dave Kittle, Tony Maritato coming in a minute. I'm Jimmy McKay. Good morning, Dave.
Morning, Jimmy. What's going on?
Do you go out and get a bagel and some lox? I mean, you're in New York City. That's the cliche, right?
Not like, I think I get a bagel more often if I'm, when I was treating patients, when I was going out most days, but even then it wasn't every day.
Yeah.
I do eat a lot of carbs though. So, it is what it is.
When I lived in the city, when I was in the Upper West Side, there was a great bagel place, maybe about 76th. That was my Saturday thing. That was the Saturday thing to do. Same typical like New York City bagel place, line out the block, like people that work there, not looking at you because they're just banging out like 40,000 bagel orders. So cliches are sometimes cliches for a reason. But you were recently, or still are recently, we don't want to shut down the talent pool, looking for someone to come and work for you, right? You're looking for someone to join the team. And what'd you do? What was your strategy? You're trying to hire a full-time therapist. In this market, we'll do your topic, then we'll segment mine, and then we'll have Tony back clean up.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been posting recently. I've been posting organic posts. Usually it's kind of like a fixed approach, and it's like a stock image. It might be myself and a previous patient. It might be one of my therapists and their patients or clients, like a selfie kind of raw type picture. I've tested some other images, and it's a pretty short post. It's like, hey, we're hiring up to $120,000 salary compensation package, treat 4 to 6 patients a day, includes coaching, mentorship, support for house calls in New York City area. Sometimes I'll list out the certain areas, whatever. So like really short posts to just be concise. And those have worked. Those, you and Tony like it, and that helps with juice and more eyeballs and all that. But October 19th, so what was that, Saturday? This past Saturday?
Yeah.
So this past Saturday, for whatever reason, I composed a longer post. Do you want to just read it out loud real quick, or I don't know if you want to screenshot it. So here's the post. I posted this on LinkedIn and Facebook. I try to go, I told you guys, I said, I'm going Tony Maritato style. So that's a post where there's no image. I feel like sometimes if I'm posting images, maybe that distracts, maybe the platform throttles the reach down. I don't know. So I was like, I'm going to go with the Tony Maritato post. I'm going to go longer winded, more context, more words, spaced out, not necessarily grammatically correct, but spaced out for your, your vision appeal. And here's the post I wrote, and I started with, I believe. The first line is, I believe every physical therapist should be able to. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I had the Dr. Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech in my head. And I obviously was not going to hijack that for a hiring post. You know what I mean? So the post is, I believe every physical therapist, every staff physical therapist should be able to, and then bullets, buy a home or NYC apartment, have time to cook food and enjoy it, have the time to go to the gym, pick up their kids from school instead of working most nights, take vacations, eat at restaurants, and travel the world, treat just 4 to 6 patients per day instead of 15 to 25 patients per day, write just 4 to 6 notes per day instead of documenting at night and the weekends. Yes, this also goes for staff occupational therapists as well. Anyway, are you nodding your head? Does this sound impossible? Or are you skeptical? Well, I understand. I get it. And here's the thing. It is possible. However, healthcare and payment reimbursement is not set up for low patient volume and therapist success. You know that it's set up for high volume and therapist burnout. Now, at Concierge Pain Relief, Home Physical Therapy, we're striving more than ever to focus on our team members who want to unlock a different reality and a different future. And then it's #hiring. So then it's like, oh, this is a hiring post. Up to $120,000 salary compensation package, coaching, mentorship, support included, orthopedic and neuro diagnoses, motivated yet demanding clientele, 60-minute one-on-one visits, in-home apartments, corporate offices, and hotel rooms for tourists. If this sounds interesting to you, then send me a DM or email me at dave@conciergepainrelief.com to discuss it privately. So before we get into the comments, and by the way, the comments are vastly different between the Facebook post and the LinkedIn post, and it's literally the same post. I think, oh, now we got Tony in here. So I don't know, like what is your guys' feedback or takeaway? Because it blew up. It's got 75 likes on it, mini virality, mini physical therapy world virality on social media.
Proportionate, right?
75 likes on LinkedIn, 58 likes on Facebook. Facebook had 53 comments. LinkedIn has like 5 or 6 or 7 comments or whatever. So anyway, and I got a lot of outreach from from physical therapists that are emailing me and sending me direct messages on Facebook Messenger and direct messages on LinkedIn as well. So obviously it worked. I have a whole bunch of therapists now in the pipeline that are interested, that are asking for more information. And in terms of anyone else that's posting stuff on social media, again, I started with a little bit of just because Tony's coming in a minute late, I literally started with, I'm going to write this like Tony Maritato, a little bit longer, no image, no link to another, to one of my YouTube videos, whatever. That was the foundation. And then it was like, I built on top of that. So what do you guys think?
Jimmy?
Yeah. I mean, American Airlines doesn't run ads where they show the airplane seat. They show the beach, right? So you spoke to the desired outcome. You spoke exactly to the emotions that you spoke to doubt. You spoke to what people want to do when they get out of bed, right? I mentioned like, hey, do you get out of bed and you're in New York City? Do you get a bagel? Like, what's your day like? Wouldn't it? Not to, why was that I have a dream speech so powerful is because you spoke to the future, like what's future possible. And there's nothing necessarily wrong. And I'm flashing on the screen for those who can see it. Like this is your previous sort of method of posting, which was shorter. We're hiring PTs, OTs for Manhattan, Brooklyn house calls, ortho neuro, up to 120. Like this is an ad. Like this is, there used to be this thing that would show up like every day almost on people's doorsteps called the newspaper, and they would have classified ads. And this is a classified ad, right? This is short because you paid by the word for the classified ad, right? But you don't pay by the word for the internet, but you do pay by the emotion. And if you don't touch my emotion, I blow you off. So this told a story. I believe that this should happen. And you're essentially, I think we listen to people complain enough where we're like, man, shouldn't it be? Shouldn't it be? And you flipped it. You flipped the shouldn't it be, or I wish it was, or it used to be. And you told that story. You're like, I'm doing this. How do you get it? You DM me. We talk about this privately. So in my opinion, that's why this thing outperformed your other posts by a couple 100%. That's why.
Yeah, it went against convention. I mean, I do like the photos that you shared. When you shared those photos of you with a client, actually, I thought, is this his dad or like a relative or some kind? It caught my attention, the photo, but I didn't read the content. And then listening to and reading the content from the longer form post, I mean, you hit all of the pain points. Like there was enough reality there that it didn't seem like you were overshooting, but you touched on the frustrations that I think most therapists have. You touched on the dream of being a therapist. Like nobody wants to be a therapist to work 40 hours a week and see 80 patients a week. So you checked all of those boxes, and I think it was really well done.
When I had sent you guys a message privately, I jokingly said like, the burnout keyword, the the salary keyword, what do you call like you're like buying a home or like establishment in life, or like what, I don't know, like I know it's kind of like part of the American dream. So I was trying to incorporate several of those things in the mix.
Can you help me get what I want? And that's what I want. Or am I going to have to am I still going to have to work double? Right? That's what you're sort of talking about. And that's why I think it resonates. Scott says, like, of course, who wouldn't like this post? Like, how about against convention too? You put a number in it. I mean, how many times do we talk about over the last like 2 or 3 years, like going back and forth, the power dynamic versus the companies versus the employees, like the hiring versus the hired. And you get to the end of the hiring process and they're like, this salary is, they don't even give you a range, and they throw out a number and you're like, that's not worth my time. I want somebody with 23 years of experience, and I'm going to hire at the below the bottom range of what, Glassdoor.com is telling me this position should get paid. You're wasting my time. You're getting to the point, and people appreciate that.
My last W-2 job, by the way, in 2014, when I interviewed, I went through maybe 1 or 2 interviews, and then I was interviewing with the COO at the time, and she had. We didn't even. I'm sorry. We didn't discuss the number in person. So we both allow. It was a little bit of, I guess, some dynamics. So we both allowed the whole in-person interview to occur, and then we parted ways. And then over email, she sent me an email that said, "Oh, we didn't discuss, salary. What number are you looking for?" Or I forget the question, but she was saying, the ball's in your court. You say a number first, right? And I agree. So like, I understand, first of all, I understand the pros and cons. I understand both. If you have a lot of applications like she probably did at the time, you can play that game. Right. I have a good amount of applications, but I agree with Jimmy. Nowadays, it's like, I feel like the number, if you put the number out there, like just like on Indeed, you have to put a number out there because you have a little bit more transparency. You have a little bit more openness. Legitimacy and more. I feel like when I do the post with the number, by the way, like a year or so ago, I was doing those same short posts, like without a salary number. And obviously those got less likes, less comments, less DMs, less emails, all that. Now with what I'm putting out, I'm like kind of learning. I'm kind of getting the feedback from the previous post. And then this one, it's like all the emotional triggers, the emotional components, the things that they want, and the things that they arguably can go get somewhere with us or somewhere else, plus the salary number to not play any games. It's like, hey, I'm showing all my cards. My cards are on the table.
But I also like I'd be interested because now as I'm looking back at this post, right, this is where it starts right here. The number was way down here. Like, I wonder if you A/B tested this and you put it up a little higher, like just try it, because when you see these posts, they're truncated.
Yeah. So I recently, in the past week or two, I did the first line, hashtag hiring up to $120,000 salary / compensation package as the first line, but I only test it with that one. Exactly. With the shorter one, not the longer one.
Right. I mean, I think that's what people are looking for, right? Like, you almost want to weed people out. I think we talked about this. I think it was you guys, or maybe it was somebody else, but like the Marines are like, we're the few and the proud. Like, we're super difficult. Like, you want to get, like, you Fight Club people. Because again, you have to interview these people who are going to be like, oh, it's 120. Like, I need 150. And you're like, great. That's not what I can do here. Here's my follow-up question. If you said you had like about 15 people who responded to this, would you be open to doing, if you found 2 people, would you hire 2 and take the risk?
Well, yeah, why not? Of course.
I'm just saying, like, from your position, like, would you have the potential patient volume, and would you be able to say, hey, if I found 2 great ones, yeah, let's invest in this?
100%. Yeah.
So the same way we're saying don't play the hiring game, don't go back and forth, is the same with patients, right? Put the price out there. I don't see why we try to hide the pricing so we can convince the patient of our value and all this other stuff. Jimmy was looking for a moving company or a rental or something like that a couple of weeks ago. He said, look, is it 1,000 or 10,000?
Yeah, I don't know.
These relationships are universal, whether it's Dave hiring a therapist, a patient hiring the therapist, whoever is hiring whom. We need to put the number out there so that we do kind of cut through and we say, look, this is what we're willing to do, capable. I don't even like the range. I don't like up to, because who's going to come in and be like, oh, 120 is too much. Pay me 80. I only deserve 80. So I would look at it as a reverse price anchor and say, okay, I'm going to put a range of 75 to 100, but I know that I'm going to offer this person 120 just to blow their mind.
If you have the capacity to do 120, you got to put it out there. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah. I'm not saying the other way is right. I'm just saying, like, you could experiment with this stuff.
Totally.
But definitely this is the same pricing lesson for selling patient services. You put the price out there, price will say value. Nobody who's an average therapist who hates patients is going to say, yeah, I'm worth 120. I'm going to come apply for this job.
The only industry I've seen where pricing like this has never changed is cars. Like, they put the price out there, but then it's never the price, right? Yeah. And I think it's just hysterical. I would love to get like a former car salesperson on here. And I know a couple, maybe I'll ask them, because like the deal there is, it's always really funny. It's like, they know that it's a negotiable thing, but they always act like you couldn't possibly. How can't negotiating? Like, what are you talking about? It's an entire industry built on negotiation, and they act confused when you bring things up.
Yeah, but it's part of the experience of buying a new car or a used car. But then there's also that surge in no haggle pricing. And companies, I mean, I know people in my family that will buy the car online because they don't want to haggle. They don't want to negotiate. They want to make a decision, even if they're paying more, because that's what makes them feel comfortable.
Right. Two quick things. 7 minutes ago, got another DM on LinkedIn from another therapist. That's 16 therapists. The thing about the pricing with cars, we just leased a new car, and I tried to do it over the phone. We had leased, this was the third lease, the same brand, the same like car brand, different dealerships, because we want to play the game and get a deal, whatever. Because I love to negotiate. And so
I like it.
I try to do it over the phone, dude. They never want to do it. They're like, oh, so you want to do sight unseen? I'm like, whatever. Like, I've had the same, this Buick Encore, and now it's like it was the baseline. Now it's the GX. I'm like, it's the same. It's basically the same. Like, I don't need to test drive it. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, I want to do it sight unseen. What do you have? Like what colors, or like, I don't even care about the color, but like what availability? Like, what's the no money down? What's the monthly rate? Well, like, what's the monthly cost? No money down. I'll turn in this old one. I get the new one. No, I'm not putting anything down. Zero down. And it's like it's like pulling teeth. It's crazy. So I feel like I've evolved, and maybe this is some Tony or Jimmy or both an influence with you guys in the past year or two on the show. But I never used to post this way. I never used to I didn't even fathom putting in like the salary publicly. Then I kind of started seeing Indeed, and like, oh, Indeed kind of makes you put like the salary or the hourly rate out there. So yeah, I mean, it's just part of an evolution, I think.
Do you ever guys see this guy on Instagram? I don't think, Tony, I don't think you play around on Instagram shit, but this is delivered to me. This guy's name is Tommy, and he does what Dave just talked about. And I'm not even in the market for a car. I don't really like cars.
He records the calls.
He calls dealers and then records the calls. There's another guy who does a really great job too, but he's a broker where he's like, and I'm going to pitch you an idea, and I won't say the friend that's like thinking of this, but like this guy essentially is like, you pay me, I don't know, I don't even know what his rates are, $2,000. And he's like, I'm going to negotiate on this car that is going to be better than whatever you pay me, and I'm going to make you money. So you're like, well, that math, and he goes, if I don't do it, I give him the money back. This guy's awesome. And I get sucked into his content all the time because he's like beating up on the people that we wish we could be up on, because he knows the ins and outs. And he's like, that's weird. You're like, the thing is, you need to go and get a new car every 5 years or whatever it is. So you get really, really good, maybe, or you get deep into negotiating for like what, and by the time that skill is good, you're done with it. So let me give you a similar, I gave this guy's Instagram content to a buddy of mine who's thinking about starting a business or a side business. And I think it's brilliant. So he got engaged and got married 2-3 years ago. And he went down the rabbit hole, like most guys or girls who are buying an engagement ring do, which is the 4 C's and cut and clarity. And diamonds apparently are notoriously just an inflated market, because like you don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, they're super rare. Well, they're really not. You can get diamonds a lot of different places, but it's the story. Diamonds are the ultimate, I'm selling the story business. So I said, take this guy, Tommy's business model. Like, dude, I don't. This
is negotiation as a service. Like software as a service. This is negotiation as a service.
SaaS would be NAAS. NAS.
NAS.
So yeah, essentially like, hey man, I'm going to get engaged. I'm going to pop the question. I want to get the most ring. I want to get the most wow, but I don't want to get screwed. And I'm like, just explain like, all right, I charge $2,000, but the difference in the quality of ring, and I'll give you the math, I'll give you the receipts. And I'm like, dude, I'd pay for that. Because I don't want to get into that. I don't want to negotiate. I have no problem negotiating when I understand the game. When I don't understand the game, I feel like I'm being dumb. And the reason that those car dealers won't negotiate with you on your phone is because they understand that the biggest element they're playing with is time. Hang on, let me go talk to my manager. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Oh, they do that at the car dealerships too. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Let me go talk to my manager, Tommy.
You're going to make me go ask my manager that? It's like, I don't know, dude. Why don't we bring him in here? Why don't we get her in here? Because apparently they're the decision maker. But that is the biggest weapon. They're getting paid to be there, and you're not. So when you're doing it on the phone, they're going, we're not. There's no sand to make to grate and to rub you down. So that's why I've been told.
Now, I would say bring that into healthcare. I pitched this idea years ago. I was like, so we just had a situation where one of our boys had a follow-up ultrasound. The provider, the doctor was like, he's probably fine. There's no symptoms, but let's just take a look at it. And of course, we had to go through children's. We do the ultrasound. It was priced at like $1,200. After contract, it was $1,000. It just killed me because it was completely useless, but $1,000 out the window. Now my wife is an amazing negotiator. So she's going to get on there. She's going to get another 40% discount on top of the contracted rate through Anthem. We'll pay at the time of service, but she understands the game and she knows how to do it. But having somebody who's a healthcare negotiator to come in, whether we're talking about negotiating for therapy services, for surgical services, for other services, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can go through in a year if you have a complex situation. And when the family's dealing with cancer or some sort of, major, so you bring this person in, they get a commission of all the savings. You're going to lose that money if you don't. And they handle all of the stress, and this is their dedicated job. I mean, I think that's a huge opportunity, and I'm shocked that we don't see that exist already.
I told my buddy, I'm like, if you did that as a side gig, it really would just be, I said, most difficult part is you would need to be there advertising, right? You would need to put out a ton of content so that guy who's going to pop the question could find you, right? Yeah. I'm like, there's your issue, but like you could flip that exact post. You could copy paste Dave's exact post and flip it to an engagement ring, like thinking about popping the question, excited, but then you start thinking about how much does the ring cost? What's good? You don't want to buy a cheap ring and look bad to her friends and her family, but like, what's good? You also don't want to pay $5,000 for a $2,000 ring. How do you know? I'm like, yes, all those things. Play on those insecurities, but then charge them a percentage of savings. I also have noticed, I don't know if you guys have, is when you used to go to buy things, computer software, anything online, now there's a pricing tab. Like that's normal now, where it used to be contact us for pricing because the sales guy wanted to get you on the phone. And culture sort of changed where it was like, I don't want to talk to people, or like, I want the price now. So I think what they saw was the people who gave the pricing got the sales. And those people who were like, call me, got less and less calls because their problems were solved by someone else. And it is shocking. There was this Dutch Rojas, guys know Dutch Rojas. Is that his name? Dutch. Yeah.
Sounds like a baseball name, baseball player.
Like Dutch Rojas is coming up in the bottom of the third.
Now batting.
Highline drive to left field. Go Yankees, by the way. But Dutch Rojas is big into, I don't even know his background, but he's always talking about pricing in healthcare. And his whole question was like, I asked a surgeon how much this surgery cost, and it looked at me like I had two heads. And a lot of people came to the surgeon's defense, like not his business. And it's like, but the fact that I ask and I can't get a straight answer is stupid. But that's why this is not a conspiracy theory. This is the truth. The reason it's so complicated is because it works for the people who make it complicated.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be. I mean, if the consumer was somewhat educated to understand what are the CPT codes, how does this work? If the provider was educated in some capacity to understand, let me provide the consumer with the information they need to. Sorry, somebody was trying to call me. Right. Then, I think we could make better healthcare decisions. Like even for us with this ultrasound, I mean, you don't want to be that parent who was like, oh, if we only would have done it, this wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, we had no information to make an educated decision. And like, these are decisions that need to be made.
So with the pricing, I still don't have it on our website. And I think maybe, Tony, maybe in the future, you might fully push me to the edge. But here's the thing. Here, at least from my approach, right? Someone has, they could be our ideal client or not, right? So there's two groups of people. Either they're our ideal client or they're just flat out not. They call around. Most people, some people are very savvy nowadays with health insurance and cost and coverage and all that. I think most are not. I would say anywhere from 75% to 90% of people have no idea about, again, because Jimmy, like you said, the third party payer system, it's this like innocuous, random like thing in the world. So we still do not list price because, so two things. One is because we will check insurance, because if they have out of network benefits, it is possible. Like we have a patient now that's paying like a $15 copay per visit. Right. So it's possible. Is everyone frozen? Is it just
he's frozen? I was doing my best Tony impersonation.
I saw. So we do take some out of network insurances where their cost per visit, like maybe they already hit their deductible and their cost per visit could be very, very low, as if it's like the in-network copay. Now, if we were 100% cash out of pocket, we didn't do any insurance at all, it was cash at the time of service 100% of the time, I do see the advantages of putting the dollar amount, the pricing on the website. But even then, it's like your ideal client, will they still call and they'll be fine with the price? Yes. But it's the folks in the middle that could maybe be swayed over a phone call.
Yeah.
Because at least with physical therapy now, with this whole out-of-pocket cash physical therapy movement, if someone is in, Orlando, Florida, and they call 5 different physical therapy places, right? And 4 of them are probably either not going to call them back right away. They're going to put them on hold. They're going to say there's a wait list. There's all these like hurdles. But if you call Pursue Physical Therapy at Ron Miller's place, he's going to tell you the price over the phone, but also the phone call gets answered right away, or you get a call back very quickly. Then the phone call process itself is dramatically different, usually different than the places that take the in-network insurance. So Tony, the question would be, if Ron Miller put pricing right now on his website, because I don't think he does. I know he used to not, and maybe he does now, but if he did today, would he get less people calling in than he currently does? And I don't know, maybe it's Tony's frozen, so I don't know if I should ask him a question.
Am I frozen? Am I still frozen?
I hear you, so let's just roll it.
Okay, so I would say yes, potentially he's going to get less calls, but he's going to have more pre-qualified calls. Yeah, like Jimmy's raising his arm. Like, I think it's a net gain. I think it's a net benefit. And so if you're running the numbers and the math and you look at it and you say, okay, well, I'm getting 15% fewer calls, I'm going to raise my pricing by this percentage, I'm going to make up the difference for what I would refer to as breakage. The people that I lose that I might have been able to convert, I'm just going to make it up on the people that are totally sold. And I would say, of course, my bias is social media. So I'm like, look, if you're not getting those people that are on the fence, maybe you need to put out more content. Maybe you need to pre-sell them better with more information. Let them get to know you like you, trust you. Let them see who you are. I think it's a failure on your marketing side if there are people in the middle. When people reach out to me, they're sold, like they're done. They will throw money at me and they will do anything because they know that I have the solution, right? Because of the thousands of videos and thousands of interactions we've already had.
It's clarity, right? So it's like, this goes back to a few weeks ago when we were talking about those, we were all testing out those like Twitter posts on how to write like a little more inflammatory, like take a stand. I'd rather have, it's like, I mentioned this before, it's like, be hot sauce, not mayonnaise, because mayonnaise is safe and you can sort of put it on anything, right? But like I don't know about you guys, I don't like ever compliment someone's meal based on mayonnaise, but people be like, this hot sauce, if you like hot sauce, this hot sauce is crazy. It's even hotter. I'm not saying I have the solution, but I think I understand the reason why people are either reluctant to put out price, or if they do put out price, it feels odd. And here's the thing. Price is really easy to measure. If I say this is $100 and yours is $50, I'm like, well, that $50 seems better. And we are big dumb animals, myself included, right? And then we try to go and explain, but here's why I'm worth $100. And that takes a while, right? Unless you're Nike, but that took them a while. And they still spend a ton to make sure when they put up a pair of Jordans, they put up the price. They don't have to explain why their Jordans are worth Jordans, but they do. They explain that all the time, not just on the sales landing page. They're doing that. That's why if someone's like, it's crazy that Nike would spend this much money on all these athletes. They're making sure when they put up shoes for, I don't even know, I'm going to sound like an idiot. I don't know what Jordans cost. I don't know, $500, $1,000, who knows? Then on the resale market, they cost even more because the story is heavier. It's harder for you as a practitioner, even with 1 or 2 or 3 clinics, to show that other side of that seesaw, that value in just one landing page. So to Tony's credit, what he's saying is you have to be doing it all the time. I want you to either love me or hate me, but do one of the two.
And I would say every one of these conversations is a fear-based conversation. I'm worried about not converting those, or what if I lose those, or what if I don't have enough? It's all fear. It's fear of loss. I find for myself, I have 2 ways of overcoming fear. It's either anger. I get so frustrated. I get so sick of working for free. I get so sick of people doing, me doing stuff, going way above and beyond and not getting appropriately compensated, that now is when I raise my prices because I'm pissed off. Like, that's the easiest time to raise prices. Or when you're genuinely confident, when you genuinely have 0 reservation because it's been proven to you so many times, that you can deliver the result. You know that there's a community out there that's willing to pay for it. You know that your value exceeds the price of what you're charging. When somebody asked me for a discount on one of my courses, I'm not offended. I have 0, negative sentiment. I'm like, oh, I appreciate you asking, but no, there's no chance I'm discounting it because I know the exceptional value that this will deliver. So confidence or anger, like those are the 2 easiest ways to overcome that insecurity, but understand and recognize it is fear and insecurity, probably because you're not doing the marketing, you're not putting the message out there, and you're not showing people why you're worth the price or the cost that you're asking for.
I'm selling a bunch of stuff on Facebook Marketplace right now, which, by the way, is wild. If you've never been on there, it is.
Just throw it out. Just throw the stuff out. You're better off just throwing the stuff out.
No matter, and it's
do not do a yard sale either.
I know. Well, here's the thing. I'm selling I'm selling a jack, like a jack for a lawnmower that I don't need. And I talked to my buddy who knows this stuff. I'm like, what's this thing worth? And he's like, it's worth $100. He's like, because jacks are going to work, whatever. I'm like, great. So I put it up for 80 because I want this thing gone. And then people come in with 40. So I go all Chris Voss. And you've heard me, if you listen to this podcast, you know who Chris Voss is. And if not, go Google him. And even on text, well, I want 40. And I go, great. Help me understand why this is worth half as much as I think it is. My job isn't to convince you it's worth 80. I have the jack. And my job is to hit the ball back over the net and make you play the ball again. I heard there was a great lesson as I played tennis in high school because we had like a state quality baseball team and I couldn't make the baseball team. So I played tennis because my buddy and I were like, it's like baseball with a bigger bat. But the best lesson in tennis that I learned from a sport I picked up was your job isn't to blow the ball past somebody. Your job is to make sure you don't make an error. Give them an opportunity to make the error. So essentially just put the ball, make sure you can hit the ball back over the net and land it in play. They can either hit it out of bounds, they can miss it, whatever, but that's your job is keep the conversation. If they're there, I was also taught this, if you're talking about price, you're negotiating. You're still negotiating. Even if you're not vying, but well, I don't really know, that person's negotiating. Unless they're gone, and even that could be a negotiation tactic. Fine, I'm going to go to the dealership down the street. That could be a negotiation tactic. But understand what game you're playing. It's a negotiation game. Unless you just put your prices out there and say, I only want to accept, this is my basement. And if you want it, you'll come get it.
Real quick, have you guys seen that game where it's baseball with tennis rackets?
Yes, it's awesome.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's wild.
Dave, you got to look for it. We'll send you
there's too many paddle sports. There's something called padel now. How many variations of tennis or ping pong or are we going to have? It's crazy.
So here's what this is. Do you know what that is, Tony?
No.
So there's a couple groups. There's John Boy Media, right? You guys have seen John Boy Media, right, Dave? Yeah. So it's this guy who just he's a Yankee fan and just started essentially becoming his own ESPN. And he's like, I'm just going to be a media company. And now the dude's like a millionaire because he's like, I'm just going to flood the internet with these great clips. I'm just going to be me. what they'll do is these guys in like Spit and Chicklets and, Barstool, they'll rent out a warehouse. They'll throw a wiffle ball tournament and record everything. And and when they do 10 games in a day and something crazy happens, there's the viral clip. So they're doing the same thing where they're like, let's invent a sport where we play tennis, but instead of they wear gloves, but then instead of throwing, even in the field, they use a tennis racket to throw to first base. It's just 10 nitwits playing, games, but recording the crap out of it. And then they wait for a moment to go viral. And then that's their thing. Their thing is the thing you see. There is no league. They invented the league and then they just give you the highlights. But your time and attention is the product. Understand that. It's ingenious.
What are we talking about next?
Yeah, so I think I kicked this to you guys in the chat that we share, our group chat. This was a report that came out earlier this month. It was like an APTA benchmark report. If you remember, it's like a 20-page PDF. Essentially, like we got a bunch of data. Here's what the data says, and it was pretty shocking. And I thought it sort of went in parallel or went into opposition of what Dave was saying. So essentially, this APTA benchmark report was from, who's it from? Private Practice Section, right? And we were just at the PPS conference. So this thing that came out, spoiler alert, I'll just give it to you even if you're not a member. High vacancy rates, national vacancy rate of 9.5%, meaning 1 out of every 10 jobs is open, specifically in outpatient physical therapy. And it's nearly double the rate of other industries that they track. Other industries is like 4%. So staffing shortages are a huge issue right now. Dave putting out posts that cut through the noise is definitely helpful. It makes it harder for clinics to meet patient demands and care quality. And here's like the other funny thing, right? Which is an interesting spot to be in. Clinic growth is outpacing hiring. Clinics are expanding. So we know that the demand for outpatient PT is high, but the clinics are like, so we have a patient list, but we can't get a therapist in there. Staffing isn't keeping up. So job openings increased across the board, especially for PTs and PTAs. The job postings went up 17%. So signaling both high demand and difficulty filling the positions. And the top causes, of course, it's like, well, why is this happening? Vacancies largely driven by company growth. So you grew faster in terms of clinic space and patient list than employees. And then here's the problem: better pay elsewhere, either elsewhere in terms of other positions at other PT companies or outside the profession is what we've seen are major factors. Also relocation, people just not needing to necessarily be in a city or not wanting to be in a city anymore. So PTs are seeking that competitive salary, improved work-life balance, and making it harder for clinics to retain staff. This is Dave. This is why I wanted this story to go after your story, which is Dave's post spoke to all those key points. You essentially threw the salary out there. We're like, we're going to pay 120. We're in New York City, which is either where you want to be or where you don't want to be. You decide. And they want that work-life balance. Most of your post talk to, is this the life you want? You want to be a PT that does this in this place, and this is how you do it. So that was the report. So Tony, I wanted to do an episode with you, which is like, great. Now that we understand the problems, I want to do like six creative solutions. I'll bring 3 like we've done before. I'll bring 3. You bring 3. How would you solve? No, if you know the problem, if you know that your problem, I need to hire, but now you know the pulse of why I can't get staff. It's like, hey, I did a funny video a while ago, which is like, we can't lose staff. They don't feel appreciated. Should we pay them more? Let's give them pizzas. It's like, that ain't going to work anymore. Not paying people will cost you. Right. Well, but what are creative ways we can do that outside of just giving them the bag?
Well, one solution that I've seen Ivy Rehab do, I don't know if you guys know of Ivy Rehab, but they're on the East Coast and maybe further. They're getting huge. They're backed by private equity. I think they have multiple hundreds of locations. I don't know how many locations now.
That's a lot.
But what they do now, apparently, and this is I don't know, this is public. I have no private data. I've not spoken to anyone at the company. But when they have a new location, they will offer a therapist. Like, let's say they have someone in their system that is a staff therapist at another location, and they'll identify that therapist and say, hey, we are going to open a new location. They're either buying locations, they're buying existing practices, or they're opening up the startup de novo clinics. Of this new startup de novo clinic, would you be interested in buying in at 10 or 20%? Now, of course, I'm pretty sure they either have to, I mean, it's either they write a check or they're given some equity, but they have to kind of vest over time, right? So they have to kind of like actually perform. They have to stay with the company, and you know, it could be up to like 4 years for them to like potentially invest to potentially vest 600 locations. That's one way. Like if you have talent, if you've identified talent and you're like, this staff physical therapist, we want to keep them in our ecosystem. They're probably not going to stay in this clinic because we already have this clinic director who's still fairly, you know, young and, you know, like has room to grow and is going to stay there.
Yep.
But we don't want to lose this staff physical therapist to Concierge Pain Relief or to the hospital or to, you know, Spear or some other competitor or Fox Rehab or whatever. So they're opening up new locations and they're using their current population, their current group of identified like great talent, say, hey, do you want to be a clinic director of this new location? And you could have some revenue share, profit share, some partial ownership. And in the short term, I mean, in the long term, both will win. In the short term, you get someone that has, they're vested or they're invested in like the performance of that practice. So you don't have to have as much oversight. Now, of course, you still need to have oversight and all that, but you basically have like a partial like owner, not just the clinic director, not just the staff therapist or a clinic director. You have like a partial owner. That's one solution that some of the bigger companies are doing.
I would love to get a private message from someone who knew the specifics of deals like that. And I would definitely not mention your name or what clinic that was. If you wanted to give me, like, I would love to know the details. Because if you look at it like this, a clinic can't survive without PTs, but a PT can survive without a clinic, right? It's harder, it's scarier, but there are lots of people that do it. So one works. So you're seeing these businesses who have demand and they're like, we're taking on private equity, which is one of the topics at APTA PPS meeting, is all these big chains are taking private equity. Here's the deal, man. When you take private equity, people focus on how much money you're just given. They don't focus on because they're not public typically, the crazy expectations and demands that are now put on. We just gave you a bunch of gas in the tank. We need to see this thing go faster. And I've seen it before at radio companies. I've seen it before at PT companies. It is all the same, which is if I give you a bunch of money, you have goals to hit and you better get there. And you better believe the people that look you right in the eye, nothing's going to change because we've been taking on this money. They might believe that at that exact moment, but that's not 100% true.
Yeah, there's always change. Yeah.
Bull. You can say it to me with a straight face and good on you for being able to do that. It ain't true. You were going to change. You just did. You just changed how you're guided. But anyway, we're getting off topic there. But yeah, so, you know, creative ways, I mean, if you have all that data, if you're Ivy or any of these huge companies, you know what a PT is potentially worth. That's why they have huge staffing companies that pay these people lots of money, right? So I don't know. I mean, what if your entire clinic model is we overpay? Whatever industry average, we pay 10% more. Because we only want the best, and we're going to give and you're not given a guaranteed job. You're given a 6-month tryout.
I mean, I love that, and I'm kind of venturing in there because as I'm putting out the salary numbers, right? I'm looking at, like, I've even used ChatGPT, and I'm like, okay, and I've done this with my business coach Sturdy McKee before. We have spreadsheets on like how many workable days. So you know, you got 365 days a year, you take away weekends, you take away 7 to 10 holidays, you take away 2 to 4 weeks of PTO, and you're kind of around 231 to 241 workable days per year. And if the therapist is seeing for us like 4 patients a day on average, or 5 patients a day on average, or 6 patients a day on average, the numbers like for what we charge, like in like the 250 to 300 range for during the week, like weekly Monday through Friday visits, like I could go above 120, and maybe that's where I need to continue to venture. And then I get like, and by the way, like another 5 minutes ago, I got another email from a therapist with their CV, and I'm not going to show it, but
posting on media doesn't work.
No, I mean, so overpaying, I think it's a great idea. And now it's like, I feel like I need like an assistant to like go through these resumes and do the initial phone call screening. And so we put up some hurdles or whatever, but Jimmy, it's not a bad idea. Overpaying and I can put out more posts like this and capture more attention. And then I kind of have, what do you call it? Like the pick of the litter, whatever that saying is.
Yeah. What if you I worked for a company, I won't say which one, and they were like, we have a staffing problem. And they posed this to me like a year and a half ago to solve it. And I was like, why are you asking me? And they're like, I don't know. We think you're off the wall. And I said, what if you treated PTs like draft picks? Like, what if you courted them? What if you started talking to them in their first or second year and you started like holding events where you get to see how it's really not treatment, right? It's mostly really all you can see is personality. Is what's this person like? I remember when my boss left at a radio station and I had a chance to essentially have a on-site interview at the job I wanted while they were still going to interview outside people, because I was 24 years old. I had no business running a full-time 50,000 watt radio station. And someone pulled me aside and they were like, you're a known quantity. They know you show up for work. They know you're not an alcoholic. They know you're not into, like, and I'm like, but that's obvious. And they go, that's not obvious. And I was like, oh my God, really? They go,
or it's not common.
Or it's not common. Yeah. But they're like, they've seen you on your crappy days, and they go, his crappy days ain't that crappy. So they know your basement, right? They know your table stakes. They go, you might get someone with a banging resume, and that person comes in 3 months, you realize they're nuts. Nuts costs you. Unreliable costs you. So how do you get that? We all know interviews are fake, right? They're staged conversations, and you try to like out fake the other person or this is totally natural. I was approached,
and you're on your best behavior.
And you're on your best behavior. Yeah, I need to see you. I mean, I've seen some brilliant moves. Can I tell you a move that I did? So I looked a little young when I started in radio, and so I was the assistant program director. And we were hiring interns, but we kept running into that problem is they just wanted like free tickets and stuff, and they weren't motivated. I didn't need skill. I needed motivation. So I convinced my boss to do this. I said, tell all the interns to show up at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. And we put them in the conference room, and everybody got name tags. And I looked young. So these are all college students. So I put a name tag on. And then, so the interview was the conference room, was me. Was the conversation we were having. I'm like, what do you guys do on weekends? Oh man, I get high. I'm like, okay, John, got it. So the interview was in the office, but it was also with me because I was watching you when your guard was down. It's a little devious, probably unethical. I don't know. But then I introduced myself. I'm like, I'm Jimmy. I'm the assistant program director. You've been doing your interview for the last 45 minutes and you didn't know it. But this costs. This is expensive.
There's another thing Sturdy McKee does, or used to do. I'm sorry, because he sold San Francisco Sport and Spine. He had a multi-clinic practice in San Francisco. And if a candidate that they were interviewing, a staff physical therapist, came early, let's say they came 5, 10, 15 minutes early for their scheduled interview, Sturdy would come out, the front desk will probably already welcome the therapist in, can you just take a seat in the lobby and we'll be right with you. So Sturdy comes out and he says to the candidate, hey, I'm sorry. Thank you for coming a little bit early. I have something I got to attend to. I will be right out. And then he would go back into his office, and he said that he would literally like sit and just wait like, 5 or 7 or whatever minutes. Again, assuming they came like early or right on time. And what he wanted this, and this was all planned, like what you just did, Jimmy. Yeah. He would have the front desk person in on it. The front desk would start to try to just make friendly conversation with the candidate. And if the candidate was like dismissive or, unprofessional or, you have to treat front desk people just like everyone else, just like the CEO, just like the janitor, you got to treat everyone the same, right? So they would end up not hiring great physical therapists that like seem like a great fit if there was some, because then Sturdy would say to the front desk person, hey, how did it go with so-and-so? Like, did they talk? Did they say, this is a nice location, or it was easy to get here, or I don't know, whatever, the weather, the sports team, whatever, right. Small banter or whatever. But if the therapist was like very like dismissive, like, oh, you're just like a front desk person, whatever, right. They would end up not hiring that therapist. And that would kind of factor into the whole decision, kind of like what you guys did at the radio station, where you don't realize the interview has already started.
Right. Yeah.
Two things real quick, and then I've got to go. Okay. Buying the supply, like that's effectively, if we take away the emotion, if we take away our biases, all the private practice owner, and I think they have the best opportunity, is just buy up all the best supply. Like buy up all the therapists in the area. If you're investing an extra $20,000 over a year, you still know you're going to make a profit, and you get a chance to pull those best therapists from wherever they are. it's a perfect strategy that's been used in businesses everywhere. And then Jimmy, I've got to ask, were you assistant? What was your title?
APD. So I was like the number 2.
Assistant program director, or were you assistant to the program director?
It wasn't Scranton, Pennsylvania. So
all right, guys, I'll catch you next time.
For a while.
Oh man, Tony's dropping that joke and just like mic drop him out.
I'm out. See, like theme. I'm out. Let me ask you this. David in the chat is asking, in terms of attracting new therapists to join your clinic, do you think it's attractive to offer paid APTA membership?
Do I think it's attractive? I mean, I'm a practice owner.
Like for you paying, like would you put this on like a job? Like, hey, by the way, one other perk is we offer paid APTA membership.
I mean, I currently don't offer it. I mean, should I maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't think, like, I never in the past, let's say 2 years, I never had a therapist ask about, does this whole job role compensation package, does it include the APTA membership dues? They'll say they might ask about Con Ed,
right?
But usually it's about the overall compensation package, the pay, and then it's like productivity or what, like how many patients, like 4 or 6, well, it's like 20, whatever, 25 a week. So not usually, like no one's asked it in the past couple of years. So I would say it's probably not attractive in my opinion.
Right. So other than salary, like Con Ed comes into play, right? So you're like, there's more that goes into a package because there's benefits if the person is full-time. If this, like, so to me, I would say this is like table stakes. If you call yourself an AP, and I'm an APTA member, right? But it's nice to me. It's like, if you say we're an APTA clinic, that's table stakes. Then are you helping to contribute to this, or we're gonna pay you X number of dollars for your membership if you get it or not? So this is interesting because it goes to like, what do you actually think is valuable? So if you've been doing this for a while and no one's asked for it, it's either like no one does it, so no one thinks to ask for it, or people don't value it, which I go back and forth. Again, I'm an APTA member. I want them to succeed because I think if they succeed, we all succeed. But a lot of times people don't understand, or they're looking for an ROI. It's not a bad thing. They're looking for a faster ROI. I look at it as like $500 or whatever it is, and it's going to pay off over 10 to 15 years. And if I'm not doing it, I can't complain. And I like me likes complaining.
Now, if I'm offering something that's like very appealing, obviously, right? So this post is very appealing, like the emotional triggers and the salary, maybe multiple things. Maybe they feel like I understand them virtually better than a lot of other job posts, whatever. I feel like I'm offering a pretty solid deal, other than you have to travel around, walk between patients and home visits and the subway, whatever. No, but I'm saying, like, with the APTA membership, like if I'm offering like $120,000 salary and everywhere else is like 100.
Yeah.
I mean, these dues are kind of built into that, no?
Yeah. 100%. But I mean, it was a question.
Yeah.
I think this happens at a lot of places like that are large, like a multi-site, large footprint clinic will be like with that. Because I know, like, at some places, it's like when you come here, you get a MedBridge subscription, you get APTA dues. What they're trying to do and what they're doing is they're overloading on the value side. So my answer to this would be, if the person values APTA membership, it's a value add. If they sort of don't care, it's not. I don't know if APTA actually does this. I know it was talked about, but like if you're an ATI or whatever, I don't want to keep picking on these various ones, but like, if APTA went to the ATIs and they go, listen, you got 3,000 whatever clinicians, I don't know how many they have, and they said, instead of paying per, like, give them a deal. Like, I would have no problem with that. Like, if you were going to make sure, like, blanket, you were going to bring them all in, because I don't think it's just the money. I think it's the engagement, knowing that not every member is going to be engaged, but the more that are, the better our association is. I don't know if APTA does that. I know it was talked about. I would be for it. I would even say that that company could or should pay less per member. I would have no problem paying as an individual, because I do think we are #Sharon Dunn better together. So what's the next step? You've got 17, 18, if you're keeping track, people in the pipeline. When do you like start doing interviews? And then what's your process?
Great question. Real quick. So a lot of the DMs or emails will be like, like, hey, I'm interested. Like this really resonated with me. Wow. Like cool, whatever. And then they'll say like, I'm reaching out because I'm interested and looking for more information. So if you are at the more information stage, in order to be efficient, we just send them a PDF. It's like 7 or 8 pages, and it's a FAQ document. It's a frequently asked question document.
Good.
And that answers like everything, like how we do marketing, like visits, documentation, liability insurance. Literally, it's most of the questions. I made that because then I can just send it, and it answers a lot of the common questions. Then they might have questions after that. But ultimately, the process after the FAQ, after they and by the way, sidebar, it's kind of obvious, but it's like, if you're actually interested, like you should be looking at our Google reviews, looking at our website. Then and the best candidates do this. They're like, wow, I saw this one Google review and this person said XYZ, or I looked on your website and this one page on your website was like kind of unique or whatever. And they'll say something specific from it. So that's like a little, if you want to butter me up, like, there you go. So after this stage would be an intro phone call. So it's a phone call typically with me, 10 or 15 minutes. In that 10 or 15 minute intro phone call, it is to try to qualify, does it make sense for us to do the next step? The next step would be a 60-minute Zoom interview. So in this intro phone call, we're going to just talk high level. Maybe I have the resume. I typically have a resume or CV or whatever. But if not, it's like, send it after this call or whatever. But it's like, does it make sense for us to do the next step, which is a 60-minute Zoom interview? And then from that phone call, I think I'm getting better. I'm better at the next stage. So if I do a Zoom video call with someone and you can kind of see them and feel them, and it's almost like in person, I think in the first, 10, 15, 20 minutes of that video call, I know, like, do they have the goods? Are they like our ideal therapist or not? And then we go from there. Then, the evaluation in person and, reference checks and career history form or whatever. There are multiple steps though. So, that's like,
fine. Yeah, but all right. So top of funnel, which is like a post, either paid or organic, right? That's like, this is what I'm offering. A little bit further down to save time, but to still be low time, high energy. It's this PDF that you've organically created over time, which is like, if I get these questions 5 times, I'm going to put it on the PDF. And let me just, if you don't like it, like, this is how it is. I'm not changing. Boom, boom, boom. So from there, you do a 15-minute interview. And if that feel good, you go to the hour.
Correct.
Or the in-person.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That feels like not complicated.
Here's an easy way where we immediately disqualify someone.
Oh yeah.
We send the FAQ document again. Like, I can't recall. It's like 7.5, maybe 8 pages total. Send that to them. They ask another question after, and I say, the answer to that FAQ, the answer to that question was in the FAQ document. That's like, and then usually like the conversation's like just completely over. Like, respectfully, have a nice life. Like, but we don't even. It's just dead air. Like, what else do you say? Like, obviously,
right. You can do the homework.
if you're really serious about us, which I know in some job prospects, like, they're praying and spraying, they're hitting up every company. That's also probably not the right fit.
Can you please edit that PDF and put an Easter egg in there, like some sort of Easter egg? Like,
yeah, I well, and just for the audience. So tell the audience, like, it would be like a sentence that says like a
professor would do on the syllabus. Like, if you send me a picture of your dog, I will give you 10 extra points on your worst exam, whatever. And like, of course, no one reads the syllabus, but all of a sudden when she gets the dog picture at random, like, she knows someone did the homework. So I don't know. I love Easter eggs. We used to put Easter eggs everywhere on the radio station I worked.
I need to put something in there. What would be for my interview process real quick? Like a compelling thing. Like, I'll
you say something about percentage of people who actually read FAQ documents. Like, the actual percentage of people who read FAQ documents is, I don't know. Tell me if we ever talk, tell me if you actually read this. Something like that. Like, put it in there 3/4 of the way through. That shows you actually did the thing.
David said, remember when the Raiders, I don't remember this. I do remember Jamarcus Russell, and he had a huge contract and he did nothing for the Raiders. The Raiders gave Jamarcus Russell a blank tape to determine whether or not he was actually studying film. And he probably turned out he was probably not studying film because he had some off-field challenges, to say the least. I do need to have an Easter egg in there somewhere, even if it's like, hey, my favorite color is green. So the next time you speak, can you remind me?
No, just my favorite color is green. My favorite color is green. Do with that what you will.
But then you want me to ask them and say, hey,
what's your favorite color? What do you think mine is? I don't know. Like, and again, like I'm just saying, like, have some fun with it.
Yeah. I thought with the Easter egg, it would be a little more direct, like on the interview, on the next step, the Zoom interview,
touch your nose if you really want
to touch nose or say, hey, I heard green's your favorite color. Well, something silly, but like, so to confirm that they actually read the FAQ document. And the importance is not reading FAQ word for word. The importance is that you pay attention to details and that you
the problem.
Right.
I got word that one of our weekend broadcasters at the radio station that I used to run would always show up like 5 minutes late. And you wouldn't know it because of all the automation. It would just run. But if I'm paying you, and I actually paid all my weekend part-time people an extra hour. I was like, I'm paying you the hour before you start, so you're there on time and you're prepared. I'm asking for it, but I'm paying for it. So I got wind. This kid is showing up 5-10 minutes late, which is not cool, which means he's missing his first break or two. No bueno. You don't do that in radio. That's hard no, unless you are bleeding or mauled by a bear. So instead of asking him or calling the radio station, because he could have been like, oh, I was in the bathroom, whatever. I went and sat in the radio studio, but it was like I was behind the door. So when he opened it, I was still hidden. So what I did was I went in an hour before when he was supposed to be there. And the minute he was supposed to be there, I turned the radio station automation off. So the next time, so when that song ended, we were off the air, like, which is sacrilegious. Like, you never go off the air. But I was like, I need to inject adrenaline into this kid's life. Like, do you want this job or not? Because he told me on the interview, like, this is my dream job. I'm like, great. I need you to show up an hour early. This is when you're getting paid. So we're off the air. There's a thing called a silence alarm. So now the silence alarm is blaring. And I hear a door and I hear feet, and he runs and he blows into the studio and he's like trying to panic. Why is it off the air? There's automation. What's going on? And he gets it going and he's breathing and breathing and breathing. And just like, I don't know, Darth Vader, I'm just like, said, running late today. And I think this guy went instantly white. And I was like, happens again. You're gone. And I just walked out the room. Never showed up late again.
How late was he?
How late was he? Oh, like a minute. But he was 61 minutes late. Because I was paying you at 11 when you're on the air at 12. And if you're a minute late in radio, my man, we're off the air. Like, I need you to understand that. So that was like, I mean, I guess like a real life example of my Easter egg, but now we're going sideways.
Real quick, can we just put these on the screen? Because these are great examples for practice owners out there. So David said, when we post a job, we ask all applicants to call a phone line to answer 3 questions on a voicemail. If they do not call, we do not review their application. This cuts down on so many applicants. I love that. It's efficient. It takes David and his team out of the process, right? And then they can just listen to the voicemail later on their drive home or whenever. And then you hear the tonality of the applicant. You hear their professionalism a little bit kind of comes through, or they just don't do it. And they're like, oh, obviously you're not serious.
Here's what I like about this, but I don't like about, because some people take this to the extreme, and it's not really in PT as much. It's more like in communications, which is also where I dabble. They'll ask you to do a project, and no offense, I don't work for free, and I've done it before. And I'll tell you personally, PT companies have asked me for a 90-day plan, which is like, if you started working here, what's the things you would do in the first, map it out. And that takes a while. Like, putting together a 90-day plan takes a while. I've seen companies do this, drag me through an interview process, lowball the hell out of me, essentially just get lost, and then start to use my plan. Not good enough to hire, good enough to do the plan, to take that work for free. So I like Dave's thing because it's quick. It's like 3 questions. Like, that's cool. 5-10 minutes, whatever. Be creative. Do it quickly, right? Have them text you a code that you wrote in your FAQ.
I love it. I don't know who's Local Point PT and Wellness. Thank you for showing up live, commenting live.
Use your names next time. Do like write your thing and then do hyphen like Steve or Mary or whatever.
But I love this. So I need to edit the FAQ and download it as a PDF or whatever. But put in a code. Have them text me a code that I wrote in the FAQ. That's a great idea. I love it. And then it's that's what I wanted, Jimmy. I wanted something to confirm, not like they know my color is green, but like it may or may not come up. No, I want the confirmation that they were a little bit more meticulous. Like, why, if you're serious about if this is such a great role, why wouldn't you read the FAQ once or twice before we talked again?
I would fail this. I'm the guy who never read the syllabus. I'm like, I'm here for this. This is how I learn.
Well, but you're not a PT anymore. You're you're a digital creator. So
whatever the hell I am. All right, parting shots.
Man, parting shots. I still disagree with Tony about putting pricing on the website for practices, but I do appreciate your guys' feedback on putting the salary out there, putting out some of the positives of a job post, and I appreciate your feedback in terms of like, hey, maybe this long post would be good, but like maybe hiring at the top, but still that type of a long post. So yeah, it's my parting shots.
Okay. Understand what business you're in. If you're seeing the shrinking supply and increasing demand, understand that you are in the hiring business. You are in the marketing, hiring, real estate, patient acquisition business. I know it feels like PT, but that's just a how. That's not a what, that's not a what, a who, or a why. Understand what business you're in, and the game gets a lot easier. Afosa jumping on a live stream earlier. That's awesome. We'll be back on Thursday, and I'm going to try to get Tony to do that episode that I just sort of tipped my hand to, which is what would be each of our 3 solutions to hiring. How would you, if you know that if you have 10% of your positions open and you need to get it, which if you go to a lot of these big PT organizations, and I know a lot of them are just like, they put them up there just so they always get an influx of applications. But if that's your problem, what are you doing differently? Is the answer more Indeed posts? No, that's not the answer. It's be different. So we'll see you guys.
Different or better. Yeah. Thank you.
Different. Yeah. Be better. That's the way.